All right, so here's the update on this. We just popped Shivams' engine out, and it doesn't look so good. We found out why it wouldn't, or one of the reasons it wouldn't turn over. It must have been underwater. He claims that it wasn't, and it was only up to the rotors, but I'm not believing that, because when we took the oil drain plug out, guess what happens? Water came out. That means water was at least pouring into the engine somehow, which means the engine was underwater at some point in time. So we had a little bottle of Hurricane Sandy pouring right out onto the floor here. So that being said, the engine's got to completely get torn down. All of these accessory items on here, they make bad noises. These all have to be replaced. The balancer's shot, like everything's shot pretty much. I mean, maybe the block is salvageable. We'll probably be able to do that. We may be able to work off the head and clean that up. But the question as to the turbo is locked up, which was going to get replaced anyway. But it's going to be quite the process. You know what? Let's tear it apart. Let's see what the inside of the engine looks like, because clearly water was filling the oil pan. I'm curious to see what it looks like in the cylinders. All right, we got the head off the Evo. Oh yeah, that's yeah. So let me show you what you're looking at. That's a piston. That's a piston covered in sludge, which is Hurricane Sandy, or Irene. I think it was Sandy. Yeah, that's not, I mean, the red stuff is coolant, but this sludge in here?
That's the mystery oil stuff I put down to help it.
Oh, that's the mystery oil to help it break loose. Yeah. But this is sludge. This is pure Hurricane. This engine it ingested water somehow, and it was. I drove it over there. We parked it. So this is gross. This whole thing here may be fucked, because we can't even get the trans off. So the transfer case, I think the throwout bearing is stuck on the output shaft from the engine, which is a big problem. But ideally, in a perfect world, the transmission will at least be usable. I don't know if this is worth, I mean, I guess the block is probably usable, right?
Yeah, I'm actually thinking the block and stuff will be all right. The head, maybe too, but...
Yeah, I mean, how'd the head look? Where'd it go?
It doesn't look that bad. It just needs to be disassembled and the ports need to be cleaned out.
Okay, yeah, the head is the best looking part of the engine here, so we can clean this up. We'll get this ported, we'll swap the cams. The block we'll try to clean up. Yeah, I mean, I guess if they've salvaged old cars, they can salvage this. But we'll bore out the block. We'll probably make it a 2.3, just so we have a little extra torque. The goal with this car here is going to be 550 wheel horsepower. I mean, how light can you make them? 2,400 pounds? This
probably like 2,600 pounds.
2,600 pounds. This is going to be like engine, turbo, and trans. That's it. It's been a complete nightmare thus far. This shit was a pain in the ass to get apart. It shows you why the engine didn't crank over, but a complete mess. Here, this bolt, I mean, all the bolts were sort of rusted on. The chassis itself is in amazing shape. It's actually, you don't see very much rust, if anything, anywhere on the chassis. We had to cut into the frame here to weld this, because this was just free spinning inside, so we couldn't get the subframe off. So that's now fixed, and we have a little window in the side. Not really desirable, but we'll clean it up. But race car, so you can get away with shit like that. But that's how bad this car was. I mean, it's definitely a project. It's a project that is going to require some components, some money, and a lot of effort. So stay tuned. That's how an Evo fought 2 hurricanes and lost, and it lost in grand fashion. As I said, this car we drove, parked it on jack stands, and the rest of this mess is the result of Mother Nature. So stay tuned for the build. We'll try to bang this out in a couple of months. Builds are not easy. They take longer than you usually expect, but if you throw enough money at them, you can easily take $50,000 and turn it into 20. And you're about to watch us attempt that. Actually, we're going to try to do it on the cheap. And when I say on the cheap, we're not going to waste money where we don't have to. If I can go buy a motor and it ends up being cheaper to buy the motor than it does to build the motor, we'll do that. This is not going to be a heavy use car, so it'll be on the track a couple of weekends a year. We'll keep a plate on it so we can drive it on the street. But ultimately, it's not something that we're going to break the bank and put the best of the best components like Shivams would. If you have anything that you know we need, I'll put together a parts list and put it in the description eventually. But if you have anything you know we need that you're selling, shoot me an email. If you're a vendor and you want to sponsor the build in any way, shape, or form, shoot me an email, rob@superspeeders.com, and we'll see if we can get your components and parts on the car. In exchange for the sort of sharing of your company, we will accept your parts and put them on here and hopefully make a pretty badass track car. Thank you for watching. I will catch you next time.